The O'Reilly Factor's on tonight.
I strongly urge our nation states and cities and counties to consider carefully the harm they are doing to their citizens by refusing to enforce our immigration laws.
The hammer is dropping on sanctuary cities as the federal government says it will deny funding to them in a variety of ways. Tonight, we'll spell it all out.
We'll end up with a truly great health care bill in the future after this mess known as Obamacare explodes.
Healthcare chaos is hurting you, the loyal American. We'll tell you how.
You have attracted people who are determined that ideology is more important than facts.
Also ahead, Sean Hannity demanding that Ted Koppel release the full interview he did for CBS Sunday Morning. Sounds reasonable. Brit Hume will weigh in.
Caution. You are about to enter the no spin zone. The Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. How politicians are hurting the American people. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The failure to pass a new health care proposal in the House has hurt the Republican Party and President Trump. Situation's confusing, but let me break it down so even the politicians can understand it. There are three basic things that America needs from a fair health care plan. First, a reasonable cost. Working people cannot be punished with high insurance premiums. Second, that the poor who cannot afford insurance are given access to health care in some way. Medicaid, perhaps the best way. And third, that all Americans are protected from medical catastrophe. So if I'm a sitting Republican congressman on the Hill, how do I vote on a new proposal to replace Obamacare? Well, it's impossible to know if the proposed new law would lower costs for everyone. But if health insurance companies are eventually allowed to compete all across America, which they cannot do now, market forces would likely bring the cost down. Also, I'm evaluating the entire situation. What good does it do my party, the Republican Party, and the president if I oppose the first proposal the House puts forth, knowing that proposal will be changed in the Senate and come back to me for another vote? Seems logical that you move the process along, and then at the end, when the entire bill is before you, you vote your conscience. But by throwing the whole thing out for ideological reasons, nothing is accomplished other than the Republicans looking bad. Now, this analysis is not based on any party sentiment by me. I am an independent. It's all about you. What's best for the folks. It's a given that Democrats are not going to turn on Obamacare. They support it to the bitter end. Yes, they may tweak it a little, but they want a giant entitlement from the feds that costs a fortune and hurts working Americans by making them pay higher premiums. So if the Republican Party doesn't unite, Obamacare stays the way it is, which is the situation right now. The big reveal here is that the conservative Republicans who voted against the new health proposal will not compromise.
There's some members of the Freedom Caucus, they'd vote no against the 10 Commandments if it came up for a vote. And so I think it's time that the Freedom Caucus work together with other members of the Republican Party.
Now, Mr. Poe has left the Freedom Caucus frustrated about the health care vote. The bigger picture is this. President Trump did get hurt by the health care vote, but it's not a catastrophe. All presidents lose on major issues. President Obama wanted to close Guantanamo Bay. Never got it done. He wanted much more social justice spending. Never happened. Making new laws very tough, as it should be. The Trump administration would be wise to move along now and try to get a new tax code. That issue should unite all Republicans who believe the free marketplace is the way to provide prosperity for the majority of Americans. If some Republicans oppose lower taxes, that will be stunning. But the president needs to move quickly. The tax reduction plan should become clear by early May. We need new tax rates for both workers and corporations, and we need to phase out deductions that only benefit the very wealthy. That doesn't seem to be too much to ask Congress to do. And that's a memo. Now for the top story reaction, joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. Where am I going wrong here, Charles?
Well, amazingly, I can't see any major mistakes here, but I do think you're sort of underestimating the damage done to Trump by the spectacular implosion of this proposal. It doesn't really compare to Guantanamo for Obama. Who cares about Guantanamo? That was a peripheral issue. Or about social spending. They spent a lot. $1 billion in the stimulus. $1 trillion stimulus is quite a lot. This is a major proposal and a 7-year promise by Republicans. It's not only the president who got hurt, it's the party.
But I don't think the president is going to be blamed for this. That's my opinion as a very astute analyst.
Look,
I don't think the wait.
It's
I
not
don't think
a
the folks
question of
out there
blame.
are going, hey, Trump screwed this up. They're going, Congress screwed it up. And both parties did, because the Democrats won't give anything. And the Republicans, as we mentioned, some of them are just too ideological. But let's get on to nuts and bolts. Was I right in saying that the bill was going to come back to the House for a vote after it was massaged in the Senate? So that if you had a problem with it, you say, okay, now I'm going to do it, but you better fix this because you're getting another shot, right?
Look, I'm with you on the fact that if you were a Republican in the House, you promised this for 7 years. You had a bill that the Freedom Caucus was able to move to the right and correctly strip out a lot of the regulation that was unnecessary and harmful in Obamacare. You accomplished all that. At that point, you vote yes, you're correct. You toss it into the Senate, and then it comes back.
Okay.
But
so why didn't they being the Freedom Caucus, conservative Congress people, why didn't they do what you and I believe is the logical thing to do?
Well, I would like to say to you what I always say when you ask me the why question. What do you think I am, a psychiatrist? They made a mistake. Look, they believe that they had promised to destroy, undo, eradicate Obamacare and all of the implications, government control, government regulation, government mandates. And they wanted to do it in the original bill coming out of the House. I think it was a huge tactical mistake. In fact, I think the whole idea, which is that Paul Ryan had decided he wanted to get a bill through the House that would be able to go through the Senate and pass with 51 votes. So he had to go within the restraints of what's called reconciliation, which is why he could not include in the bill the things that the Freedom Caucus had wanted, being able to buy insurance across state lines, tort reform, and stripping out
he was going to do that later.
The regulations.
Right.
The point is, why not put it in the House bill? And this is what I would recommend to the Republicans when this comes back, as it will, probably in the fall or the winter, when Obamacare begins to implode. At that point, put everything in the House bill.
Yeah, and let the Democrats take the rap when it blows.
That's exactly right.
But it
There's
still
no
doesn't
other
hurt.
way.
It doesn't help the folks. They're still going to pay for the next 6 to 9 months more health insurance premiums, higher premiums. So, yes, the chess game goes on at Congress, and who gets hurt? The regular folks. Charles Krauthammer, everybody. Next on the rundown, Dr. Austin Goolsbee, former Obama advisor, will weigh in on the Washington swamp. And later, Attorney General Jeff Sessions cracking down on sanctuary cities. The threats are now getting very specific. Those reports after these messages. And in the Impact segment tonight, we continue with our lead story. President Trump losing the first big battle in Washington, a revision of the healthcare system. Join us from Chicago, Dr. Austin Goolsbee, former advisor to President Obama. So there's two parallel things going on here, Doctor. Number one, the folks continue to get hosed by a health care system that benefits the poor but doesn't benefit the working people, the middle-class people at this point. And the second is the political chess game, the ideological chess game going on in Washington that the folks really don't want any part of, or am I wrong?
I think on that you're right. I was kind of struck, though, in your note, you know, the Freedom Caucus folks, they've been hollering and screaming and lighting stuff on fire for 8 years. I mean, it's taken only now do you recognize that these guys are being unreasonable? I mean, they've been doing this for a long time.
I give everybody a chance. You know, talk about unreasonable. Okay. The whole Democratic Party is unreasonable because none of them will consider that this bill, this Obamacare bill, should be done away with and something better put in its place. And you know the Democratic Party, to their credit, they stick together, whereas the Republican Party don't. And that's the embarrassment.
I agree with you. The Republicans are demonstrating that though they have the biggest majority in the House that they've had in 90 years, they can't govern. I mean, Donald Trump is going to have to do something to figure out whether he can put together a governing coalition.
I don't know if he can or not.
But if you take a step back, I don't know either. But
let's advance the story because Charles Krauthammer feels that Trump, you know, and he's not a Trump guy, and we all know that Trump was damaged. I don't think he was damaged that much. I think that the folks who have to pay these huge premiums and deductibles are going to blame Congress, not the president. However,
I'm not so sure about that.
Now comes tax cuts. And here the president has to get it done. But I can't imagine any Republican opposition to tax cuts. Can you?
Well, I can if what I think they're on path to do, they have no way to pay for them, and they're just going to blow up the deficit. I think he's, again, the root of this, I think Donald Trump actually is at fault, even though on whatever specific he didn't propose it. What is at fault here is that Donald Trump ran without specifics, without advertising any kind of trade-offs. He promised he's going to satisfy all our dreams, everyone get a tax cut. He's going to replace Obamacare with something fabulous that costs less and covers everyone. And he wasn't being serious, and now he has to be serious. And on taxes, I don't see how he's going to do it.
Look, campaign promises are one thing. And the president is certainly going to have to figure out how to pass bills. He's going to have to figure it out. And this first test went south. Okay. But again, it wasn't he who was going to, he's not going to take the heat for this, the blame for this.
Maybe. You might be right.
Okay. But the tax cuts, that he has to get done because there doesn't seem to be an opposition to me. If the real far-right congresspeople are going to object to phasing out deductions that only benefit people who own football stadiums. I mean, then
but there's not enough money in that. That's the root of the problem.
You have
just
to basically
the corporate side.
Cut the taxes, stimulate the economy, and hope, as happened in the Bush administration, Bush the younger, that the increased revenue of people getting more money working and more jobs will fill that in. That
didn't happen under Bush.
Yeah, under Bush
I disagree. That is not what happened.
Highest revenue, tax revenue up to that point in history.
Look, they had a massive increase in the deficit under George Bush because they cut taxes.
Come on, be fair. That's because of the Iraq War. Be fair. Is that your last word, that you're not going to be fair?
I'm always fair. I'm always fair, and I'm always glad you have me on. My last word is simply, I don't think he'll be able to pay for it, and so he's going to have a problem.
Okay, Doc. Directly ahead, Attorney General Sessions threatening sanctuary cities with the loss of big federal bucks. And Congressman Devin Nunes, head of the House Intelligence Committee, will tell us what will happen tomorrow on the surveillance front and the Russian investigation. Doctor's coming right back. Unresolved problem segment tonight, the federal government taking on sanctuary cities at last. Today, Attorney General Jeff Sessions made a surprise appearance at the White House press briefing, urging cities that refuse to uphold federal immigration law to change.
We intend to use all the lawful authority we have to make sure that our state and local officials who are so important to law enforcement are in sync with the federal government.
Mr. Sessions saying that this year alone, the Justice Department anticipates awarding more than $4.1 billion with a B dollars to cities and counties across the country. But sanctuary cities may be deprived of those grants, and that would hurt them. Joining us now from Boston, Marianne Marsh, and from Washington, Katie Pavlich. So before we get into this, I want to define for the audience that what the federal government is now asking every jurisdiction is if they arrest an illegal alien to let ICE know, and if ICE then sends back a detainer, please hold that person so that we can pick them up. That happened. That's it. That's what the Trump administration is asking. But Austin, Texas says, blank you, we're not going to do it. And the state of Texas takes $1.5 million away from that county, okay, right off the bat. So this is getting to be a big mess, Katie, is it not?
Well, of course it's going to be messy. I mean, we've tolerated sanctuary cities for a very long time under Republican presidents and Democrats. And I think that Attorney General Jeff Sessions better be real about his threats. And if they're going to pull funding from sanctuary cities, they better not be bluffing. They should go in and do it. They should be doing more raids. And as you pointed out, they're not asking for a whole lot. ICE specifically is asking for local law enforcement to hold illegal aliens with criminal records like rape, murder, a sexual assault against a child. I mean, these are the types of criminals that they're going after. Even if you just take the immigration part of it off of the table, they're asking for these very violent individuals to be held, and these local jurisdictions, some of them are not complying. But I think if they follow through with their threat to pull the funding, they'll see a lot more compliance down the road, but it will take a little bit of time.
Well, the sheriff of Travis County is the best example right now, Marianne. Sally, what's her name? Hernandez? Yeah, Sally Hernandez. She basically said, I'm not holding anybody. I'm not holding them. You know, unless you have a warrant, which you have to get from a judge, all right? If you send in a fax or whatever and say, please hold this person because we want to talk to them, I'm not holding them. I'd punish her, too. I'd punish that county as well, wouldn't you?
I think if it's a violent criminal, a felon, yes, of course. I've said that before on the show.
That's not Sally's call. ICE gets alerted, and then ICE makes the call whether to issue a detainer or not. It's not Sally's call.
I understand that, Bill, and the Obama administration and the Trump administration have the exact same policy, and some people are following it and some are not. And when it comes to what Jeff Sessions today, what he talked about, which was the Obama policy, and withholding funds, he, like the Obama administration, does not have the ability to do it. No president does. It is up to Congress to make the changes to the conditions on those grants.
So block grants are awarded. That means that, you know, it's a competition. So, of course, he's not going to give it to him. Did you know, Marianne Marsh, did you know that the guy who allegedly killed Kate Steinle in San Francisco, whose trial is coming up, has openly said that he went to San Francisco because he knew he would be protected. He knew that even though he was deported 5 times and came back, okay, they wouldn't do anything if they caught him dealing drugs, which is how he made his living. Did you know that he actually said that? And yes, doesn't that really disgust you?
It does disgust me, as does the fact there was never a straight one-up vote on Kate's law. And what's more disgusting, Bill, is the fact that the immigration system that let him in and allowed him to re-enter 5 times is broken, and no one's doing anything to fix it.
I think
you
the
can't
Trump
deport your way out of
administration
it.
wants
You can't build your wall out of it.
Well, I think the wall is going to help make it harder for people to do what that man did. And it's hard to see how it wouldn't make it harder because it's so easy now. All right, Katie, now, when you are and Marianne is sounding reasonable tonight. She's not going off the rails.
Very reasonable.
But the argument that Sally Hernandez, the sheriff, makes is, so if I obey federal law, okay, then it's going to alienate all illegal aliens in my jurisdiction, and we need them to cooperate with the police. Any validity to that argument at all?
That's not what ICE is asking for. If you listen to the words that Attorney General Sessions specifically stated today, we are looking for criminal aliens with records of murder, rape, sexual assault against minors, etc. We're not talking about all illegal immigrants in the country. We're specifically talking about those who were convicted of a crime or those who have been
and
charged
surely the illegal
with a crime.
alien community that's hardworking, the people who do obey
They don't
the law
want them there
while they're
either.
They don't want
That's
exactly.
the thing. They don't want them there either.
There because
No.
they're doing damage to those criminals being doing damage to them.
Absolutely.
Ladies, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Plenty more ahead. As the factor moves along this evening, a shootout between Ted Koppel and Sean Hannity over liberal bias in the national media. Bert Hume has some thoughts on that. But next, Congressman Devin Nunes, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, will be here. Tell us what will happen in the big meeting tomorrow on Russia and surveillance. We hope you stay tuned for those reports. Personal story segment tonight. It was expected that FBI Director Comey and NSA Chief Rogers would appear before the House Intelligence Committee tomorrow in a closed-door session. But apparently that's not going to happen. Joining us from Washington, Congressman Devin Nunes, chairman of that committee. So why are the guys not showing up?
Well, look, we hope that they'll show up in the future. We don't know why exactly that they didn't want to show up today, but clearly last week there were over 100 questions that they couldn't answer in an open setting. So we wanted to have them back in a classified setting just to set the foundation for this investigation.
Don't they have to give you a reason why they're standing you up?
They should. You would think that they should. I will say, Bill, that the NSA is cooperating with getting us information in a timely manner as it relates to American citizens who were picked up and unmasked in any type of surveillance. So
but
we're
the
hoping that
FBI is not giving you anything. But I'm curious about this. So you invite them to did they say they'd show up? Did they say, yeah, okay, and then they backed out, or did they not commit?
I think the mistake that we made was we know that their schedules were clear because we worked with their staff, but I think the mistake was made. We probably should have asked in open setting in front of the public last week just to confirm that they would come forward and help us.
So they're being a little weaselly, it looks like to me. I mean, with all due respect to their position. All right, now, a lot of people feel that the House Intelligence Committee is an oxymoron after the vote on health care. It's a little jest. But what exactly are you guys investigating? I need to know from the chairman, what exactly are you investigating?
So we have long had an investigation going on in Russia. In fact, a year ago, I said that the biggest intelligence failure since 9/11 was our failure to understand Putin's plans and intentions. If you look at what happened after that, we're now looking at the analytical integrity. Did the IC, the intelligence community, have the right assessment? We're also looking at what was the level of Russian involvement? These are all questions
so
that
you've
we're
been doing
very,
that
very
for a
interested
year.
in.
So the Russians you're investigating, and then I assume you're investigating the surveillance and the leaks, right? Is that right?
Yeah, so we're also investigating leaks as it relates to Russia. Now, as you know, just recently last week I found out that there was additional information that came forward to me that had nothing to do with Russia, but has everything to do with whether or not Americans were masked properly or, in fact, unmasked. And I'm very concerned about that.
By surveillance, and Trump people were involved. But here's what happened, in my opinion. You went to the White House to look at these documents, at least on White House grounds, all right? And then all the people who don't like you and the conspiracy people say, oh, Trump gave it to him because he went to the White House to look at it. And the optics, as they say, were not good. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so look, we go to the executive branch at least once or twice a week. This is not unusual because there are intelligence products that we don't have access to in the House of Representatives, but we do have the clearances to see them. So we've known about this long before Trump actually sent his famous tweet out about the wiretapping at Trump Tower. We've known that there was additional unmasking of Americans' names. We had sources that had provided us that information. And so what I had to do is I needed a place that I could actually go and find this information and review it.
And see it.
And so we just facilitated it.
So you went to the old executive office building. My guess, I know you're not saying, my guess, okay, and you looked at it, but they didn't give it to you. You just saw it. And then you went over to the president and told him what you saw.
Yeah, the next day. So there was no sneaking around. I walked onto the ground, said hi to people, Did not go to the West Wing, did not talk to the president. And then what I reviewed, and when I found out that it had nothing to do with Russia, okay, that's the key here, is it had nothing to do with Russia.
It's another surveillance deal that we the people need to know about. Now, final question is this. Most Americans think you guys in Congress are a bunch of hooey right now. The IRS investigation, where did that go? Nowhere. All right, did we ever find out who did it, who ordered that? No, we did not. Why should anybody have any confidence in your committee when two guys you wanted to hear in a classified situation didn't even show up? That's disrespectful. Why should we have any confidence that you're going to get anywhere?
Well, look, this is always the challenge with the legislative branch of government, because we can provide oversight, we can investigate, but at the end of the day, we can't go and arrest someone.
Did you get issue with subpoena?
We can subpoena, but at the end of the day, we don't have the power to bring justice. We can only make a recommendation to the Department of Justice.
Yes, you can expose.
We can expose.
You can't arrest. Finally,
and I think we're doing a good job of exposing.
Well, I hope so, but I still don't know who we're surveilled and why. I got one more. Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, he's not your friend. You know that, right? He's not your pal.
Well, look,
he wants you out.
I try to say nice things about people. I know sometimes I say things that I probably shouldn't. But the reality is that I'm not going to disparage anyone. I'm going to continue to work with people.
And you're not going to quit. See, he wants you to quit the investigation. You're not going to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that the Democrats do want me to quit because they know that I'm quite effective at getting to the bottom.
All right, well, let's hope so, Congressman. Keep us posted, would you? We really appreciate you coming on. It's important stuff that you're doing, and we really want to know about it.
I really appreciate it, Bill. Thank you.
Okay. When we come right back, a CBS Sunday morning shootout between Sean Hannity and Ted Koppel. Interesting situation. Britt Hume will weigh in next. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Hume Zone segment tonight. Sean Hannity versus Ted Koppel. For years, the former ABC News man, who now works for CBS in a freelance capacity, has decried the rise of cable news. A little more than a year ago, he came on The Factor.
You have changed the television landscape over the past 20 years. You took it from being objective and dull to being subjective and entertaining.
With all the things that you pointed out, it's a whole different ballgame on cable TV. Commentators like me have just ruined the country. I cop to that.
That's true. You have.
Right. I've ruined everything. Of course, I said that in jest, but Mr. Koppel believes it. He believes that TV commentary is overshadowing hard news reporting. Now, yesterday, Mr. Koppel talked with Sean Hannity and told Sean that his program was bad for America because it catered to ideology. Hannity replied that conservative commentary is legitimate and necessary because the mainstream national media is very biased to the left. Problem is the interview is heavily edited, and Sean is now asking for a full unedited portion be put up on the CBS News website. It sounds reasonable to me. Joining us now from Florida, Britt Hume. So here in The Factor, if we edit an interview of significance, we post the unedited part on BillO'Reilly.com. Do you think CBS News should do that?
I do. I can't see any reason not to do it. A lot of people would be interested in it, and it would drive traffic to their website. So why not do it? It's easy to do, and it doesn't cost anything. Really, they have the transcript, one presumes.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we called
them today, and a former TV writer named Richard Huff now does their communications, and he basically didn't want to talk too much about it. But you're right. Economically, it benefits CBS News to do it.
Yeah.
People would go.
Seems
and I
an
must
easy
say,
call.
if I have to go to a news site, I go to CBSNews.com. I think it's a good news site. And I'm not saying that with any promotional aspect, but they do a nice job on their website. And they have the material. Why not post it? Why not let's see Hannity and Koppel in full flower? And if they don't, I'll put it on BillO'Reilly.com. They just send it right over to me. I'll put it right up. Now, what is the resistance that you think? Because you work with Ted Koppel. I didn't work with him, but I was there when he was there. I was working for Peter Jennings most of the time. You and I made the transition to Fox News, all right? And I didn't have a hard time making the transition here. and you did a hard news program. Now Brett Baer took over from you. Didn't see you have a hard time working for this outfit. But Koppel, guys like Tom Brokaw, they have a real tough time with it. What do you think that is?
Well, they came along, I think. Look, I consider Ted Koppel a friend, and I've always admired him. And I would note, however, that he came up and came to prominence in an era when really all there was the 3 network nightly news programs, the Sunday morning programs, and there was morning show, but that was mostly talk. And there was, later there was Nightline. That came relatively late in the history of TV news, but that was a sort of a news and interview show, late at night, very successful, very good actually. And that was the age in which he came along, and I think that's the era in which he is comfortable. And I can understand that. This is a different universe now. I mean, there were not 3 full-blown cable news channels at the time he was in his prime, and there wasn't the amount of airtime that they had. We now have, news and talk all day long. Some hard news programming at 6, and I would say also at 7 now.
Sure.
And then our evenings are devoted to what would be the op-ed page.
Yeah,
of TV news.
And he knows it. He's a smart guy, Koppel. And I talked slowly when he was on, and I said the same thing to him. This is the op-ed page. And when you have a 24-hour news cycle, I mean, you get plenty of time for everything. You guys only had a half hour and 20 minutes if you count commercials. I think the resistance is, I have to say, that most of the standardized network news guys of the past were social liberals, not crazy left-wing bomb throwers, but social liberals, and they kind of resent the Fox News Channel's overwhelming success. Last word.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I presume, therefore, that Ted finds the opinionated programming on MSNBC objectionable, and also on CNN as well. There's just a lot more opinion programming out there than there used to be, and I can understand why veterans of hard news find that unsettling, but I still think that there's plenty of room for it, and we've proven that every day.
Absolutely. Britt Hume, everybody from Florida. Water's on deck. The Supreme Court edition. Do the folks know anything about the people who really rule their lives? Waters is next. Back in the book segment tonight, the vote on Judge Neil Gorsuch for a Supreme Court appointment will occur in early April in the Senate. Although the judge did very well in his confirmation hearing, some Democrats will not support his nomination. In the middle of all this, we sent Waters out to ask the folks what they really know about the Supreme Court.
What did you think of the hearings?
What hearings? Which hearings?
The hearings for what? I know nothing.
I see nothing. I know nothing. What did you think about the hearings on Capitol Hill?
I haven't really heard about the hearings in Capitol Hill.
How come you never got an education like your brother Charlie here?
President Trump nominated someone to fill the Supreme Court vacancy. Do you know who that was?
I don't.
Can I give you a hint? Neil.
No.
Neil.
Tyson?
Neil.
Armstrong. That's where my mind went. Patrick Harris.
Doogie Howser?
Yeah, that's closer.
Neil Gorsuch.
Gorsuch. What?
Whoa, little fella, you're not speaking my language.
How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
I don't know. A lot.
How many Supreme Court justices are there?
12?
12. Say 25, 15, 10, 5, 7, 8, 9 people?
Yes.
Oh, that's a lot of people.
Hi.
How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
9. Yeah.
I like her. I really like her.
Who is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court?
I would not know that either.
John.
Jacob Jingleheimer Smith.
His name is my name too.
John.
Richardson. Rodriguez. Romero.
What's with all those kids out there?
I was going to say John Stamos.
That'd be the best-looking Chief Justice of all time.
Oh, good guys. Okay, great. Take over for me.
Can you name any justices on the Supreme Court?
I don't know. I can't.
Ruth Bader.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon.
Ruth Bader
Jr.
Sminsburg.
Tough name. I don't know that guy.
It's a girl.
What, a girl? That's a girl's name?
Didn't I meet you on a summer cruise?
The only one I know is Ruth Bader Ginsburg because she falls asleep a lot. But
Clarence
Bakovich.
There's a Russian on the Supreme Court?
Messing with Trump, I'm surprised there's not one right now.
No.
Clarence
Roosevelt. Thompson?
Close.
Thomas.
Yeah. What exactly does the Supreme Court do?
I think our rights come in.
What does the Supreme Court do?
Pass bills.
That's Congress.
They.
Well, what's your answer? I'm waiting.
What does the Supreme Court do, in your opinion?
It rules and checks and balances. It makes sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. They're the last decision on very big cases.
Very few girls have your wonderful willingness to learn.
Can I pet your dog?
Yes, you can.
I pet it, and I massage it.
Does she bite?
Yeah, she's teething.
Do you guys have any idea who I am?
You're from Fox News.
Correct.
I've seen you do this with people before.
I'm Waters, and this is my world. Come here, let me talk to them. Hey, how you doing? They're doing an interview with Waters World. They're gonna call you right back, okay?
So it was as grim as we thought it might
Pretty
be.
bad. Yeah. And the one girl that knew a lot with the dog grew up in Norway.
In Norway?
And she knew more than most of the Americans.
You know, that a lot of that happens, that the people who come here from other countries study the country.
It's true, it's sad.
But Americans, the Supreme Court, because they don't teach it.
No, they don't.
Did you have it when you were in high school?
Of course I did. That's why I know these answers.
Oh, yeah. No, but seriously, when you were in high school.
Yes. I took a constitutional history course, and you learn these things.
In Philadelphia?
In Long Island.
Oh, you were in Long Island?
Yeah, at that point.
Really?
Yes, and you learn about...
I go out, the urchins have no idea.
No, they don't.
Supreme Court, you know, is that like the supreme being? No, that's God.
That's like Judge Judy, they think they're talking about.
Now, Waters was at the Spin Stop Series show in Omaha and Tacoma over the weekend.
Yes.
You had a crew. You had a camera crew.
We had a crew.
You know, what is that all about?
That's actually going to be shown this weekend, Saturday night. So don't watch the basketball game. Watch this. I wish the crew had been there to show what O'Reilly eats, because he could order whatever he wants on the jet, and he gets sausage pizza and fried chicken.
Excellent. Why wouldn't I?
You're not going to live too much longer, Bill.
Who wants to? All right? You go out, you know, on a wave.
That's true, and you're going to go
I
on a
work
big
it off.
wave.
I walked all over Tacoma. It's up and down those hills.
A lot of walking, that's right.
And I didn't see you turning it down, Waters, did I?
No, I had double.
Okay, there's Waters. All right. So check him out on Saturday. Why, I really can't tell you. Back to tip of the day, helping the police. You can do it directly. The tip, moments away.